Hello friends, in this video we will look at one interesting anecdote about the life of Einstein as to why I found out or came to know about this incident is an interesting fact. 2018 was one of my last attempt or one attempt before the last attempt. In that there was a preliminary examination question where they asked about general theory of relativity about Einstein, and in that three options will be given, and many of after the examination what happened was many of the key, so some said 1 and 2 only, or some said 1 2 3, all the three are correct. And this discussion kept on going, and each institute in different places gave different interpretation about this question on Einstein. And as I told you, this was one attempt before my last attempt. So what I thought was that, and one more thing is that as the attempt keep increasing, you will have I keep saying that you will have a diminishing return. What I mean by that is that as you keep on giving attempts, the number of hours that we spend for this exam actually becomes lower, and we spend a lot of other times arguing or fighting with people about what we know, and this is the answer for this question, that is the answer for that question. And I wanted to do the same thing. See, I was a person with all the flaws of civil services examination as well, and I wanted to do the same thing, and hence for this question I wanted to learn a lot about that, and that is why I got this book. This book by Walter Isaacson. It's Einstein and his life and his universe. So this is the book that was that I got, and it is an interesting book. So what I wanted to know was the answer for the question of 2018, but what I in turn understood was many other things. And one such incident is what I'm going to share in this video. So let us go into the video. So the preliminary preparation or the preliminary examination preparation would be now in full swing, and now people would be starting to advise you, and people would give you so many advices as to how to approach this exam. And I do not want to give advices as well, but I want to share an incident where how Einstein faced all these things, or how Einstein faced the problems that he faced, or how he overcame all these doubts in his mind to succeed in his theory. And everyone would know, and I will explain it this in a very lay person fashion, because I am myself am not sure of all the intricacies of the theory that Einstein gives. So I'll talk about in general terms as to the usefulness of what this incident meant to me. And one such incident is that Einstein gave this theory of general theory of relativity. Everyone knows that. And that was the question. 2018, they asked this question on general theory of relativity. In that theory, Einstein would have given this fact, given this theory that this whole universe is not just a mere space, rather it is kind of a space-time continuum. Or what he would supposedly say is that every object of a particular mass will have, or will be part, or when they are put in that space time, they will bend that space time. And that is one of the different questions of gravitational waves they asked in 2017, I think 2017, or not 2000. Yes, gravitational waves they asked in 2017. And if you think about it, this bending of the space time results in this wave, and that is how this gravitational wave comes, and that is what was asked as a question in 2017. But 2018 was a question about whether this space is expanding, or what they asked was whether Einstein proposed whether space was expanding, and that was the disputed option as well. But the one more option which was above that, light, or the gravity bends light, or if you put a mass over the space-time continuum, it creates a bending thing, and so that anything which comes under the influence of that mass will bend. This is what is the theory. And if you think about it, the difference between science and supposedly mythology and religion and things like that, if you see, mythology, religion will not ask for evidence. They are dogma based. In anthropology and sociology, people, you would have read about these theories. These are what people call as dogmas, or you cannot question the traditional and authority of religion when they put forward a theory. But if you ask a scientist, the difference is that you can question them. You can question them as to the validity of that theory. And Einstein also, when he proposed this theory as to how the space-time continuum is there and how this bending happens and everything, people ask for the evidences. Obviously, they will ask. And the evidence, for example, for bending of light, how it can happen, you think about it, how it can, or how they were supposed to photograph that incident of bending of light. How does bending of light, how does one give this concept, or how does we prove bending of light? The thing that they took, or as an experiment, was when the sun is eclipsed. During the solar eclipse, if you can photograph a star behind the sun, that means you are photographing the bending of light. What is the meaning, or the detailed meaning of scientific physics? We need not go, but think about it. When somebody is standing behind you, so imagine a person standing behind you, and you will not be able to see that person. What if you are able to see that person? What if that person is visible to your eyes through the bending of light? And that is what is the meaning of looking at stars during that solar eclipse. And if you photograph that, that means there is bending of light. That is what was the theory of general relativity. And if you think about it, we have to go a little deeper. Not only proposing this bending of light is necessary, you have to tell, or scientists, that is how scientists operate. You have to tell how much the bending will be. Your theory should say this much is what the bending should be. And Einstein gave this figure of 0.7 arc second. So this is one figure which you think about it in terms of how the light would be bending. And the experiment was fixed. And they fixed that position of where they are going to photograph that eclipse. And this was Erwin Friedrich. He was the person who was supposed to look at this bending of light, or photograph this bending of light. He was a person from Berlin, Germany. This was supposed to happen, and this Erwin Friedrich was very much enamored by Einstein, and Einstein at one time took Erwin to a lecture, and he proposed this theory, or he was giving this lecture, and he was talking about this theory of bending of lights and things. At that time, Erwin would be sitting, and Einstein points to Erwin and says that he is the person who is going to prove my theory. And initially Einstein did not have that much money for giving this program go ahead, but so he collects this money, he makes so much of effort, and he finally makes this money ready, and he gives it to Erwin. But the interesting fact is that this photograph, which was supposed to be taken of the sun, or the solar eclipse and the bending of light, was supposed to be in a place called as Crimea. Crimea, as you might be very well aware, is very much in news this time because of the Ukraine-Russia war. So Crimea at that time was with Russia. The another thing that you should note was that the date that was fixed for photographing the solar eclipse was August 21, 1914. When I say 1914, you should have immediately guessed the fact that yes, it was the year of World War I, and it was between the European powers, as you might be very well aware. And if you see, there were two camps. On the one camp, you had Britain, France, Russia. On the other camp, you had Germany, Austria, Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. This was the division in World War I. And Erwin was a person in Berlin, or a person belonging to a German nationality. The place he was going to photograph was in Crimea, Russia. And if you see in World War One, these two countries are against war with each other. But August 21 was fixed. Scientists, as you might be, or as you, the point is that the fight will always be between countries. It is not going to be between scientists. Scientists will keep on doing their job. So they fixed the place, and what happened was they started. So July 19, they started to the place of Crimea, and they wanted to photograph that place so that to prove Einstein's theory. In between, you might be very well aware. 28 June 1914, the Bosnian Serb James Princip. So James Princip, he shot at this Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and which was the spark for World War One. And 28 June, as you might be aware, this was the spark which ignited the World War One. And August 1, 1914. This whole thing was what happened. This whole thing of World War One started. But these people are now in Crimea, or they wanted to take the picture of the bending of light. They are and Einstein had given them the money, and they have started for the expedition and things. But what happens is that you imagine a scenario when two countries are at war with each other. Russia and Germany are at war at each other, and a German national is seen with a photograph camera and things and looking at the skies, and it looks like a reconnaissance mission. And Crimea, when he went, and that is what the Russian authorities thought, and they took all the things. And the solar eclipse, as you might know, solar eclipse does not happen always. So you have to have that perfect time, and you have to perfectly capture that. But it did not happen on that day, and the whole incident went low. And Einstein was very low, thinking that this could have proven his theory. Because theory will be put forward, but experiment is only which makes this theory accountable. And that is what is the difference between science and religion. And Einstein was very low, and he had spent the money as well. He was not having that much money. And as I told you, like everyone else, Einstein was very low, and he was going through some personal problems as well at this time. And he did not know what to do next. But this is where I feel Einstein was the genius, or who he was. People are not genius, or they are not born geniuses, or I don't believe in this concept of born geniuses. There are people who persevere, or there are people who commit to something and they keep on doing that and improving that. Einstein, what he did was, he did that only. The bending of light, as you might be, or as we discussed, it was 0.7 is what he predicted. But he went through the calculation again. He reinvented himself. He went through the calculation. He again looked at all the evidences, and he found out that the bending of light, it was not 0.7, rather it was 1.7. Or if you see, it is double. Earlier he said 0.7, 0.8, and now he is saying it is 1.7. This is how much the light will be bended. And if you think about it, he is not someone who is seeing this theory with the same eyes as he saw earlier. And this is what I want to say to people who are writing civil services for multiple times. Do not look at or approach this exam in the same way that you approached the last time. Or if you see, you have to improve, or you should not lean back and say, I have done everything possible and there is nothing else to do. And if Einstein had been like that, he would not have been the genius as he is now. So he went back and he saw that there is a change in the calculation, and he calculated that. And this time again 5 years. So the world war, as you might be very well aware, it went till 1918. but 1918, 1919, and then it ultimately comes to an end, and ultimately science, science takes over. So scientists are not something, even world wars end, but human pursuit to knowledge does not end. And Einstein did not end his pursuit of knowledge or pursuit of deciphering this universe at that time. So what happens is that May 29, so that is the, so he again they think about proving this theory. Again they fix a date, May 29, 1919. And the point is that at this time they fix it in South America, in Brazil. So they wanted to picture, because this time the sun was at Brazil, or they would be capturing the solar eclipse in Brazil. So they decided this place. And this time Einstein was a person or citizen from Germany. Einstein was a person from Germany. This time the person who was going to prove that was Arthur Eddington. Arthur Eddington, if you see, is a person from Britain. And in World War I, Britain and Germany are at war with each other. But if you see the scientists, how they operate and their religious denominations. Einstein was a Jew, or belonging to the denomination of Jew. He was a Quaker. So in Christianity sect, Arthur Eddington was a Quaker, and he belonged to Britain. They too decided to collaborate. And Arthur Eddington, what he said was, he will try to prove his theory, and he goes with all his equipments. And by the time of 1990, when the date was decided, the German U-boats or German submarines were becoming a very much problem. But at that time, 1919, in the last moment, the last phase of this whole thing about World War I, it ended. And thankfully, before these people went to that place, the war ended and they captured it. And you know what? They found out that yes, the bending of light is there. The photograph shows there is bending of light, and the bending, the amount of bending is 1.7. So if you see, earlier Einstein would have said 0.8. When the Erwin Froelich, when he went, Einstein would have said 0.8. You imagine a scenario, if Einstein, if this world or this Erwin Froelich had taken the picture, he would have shown that the light, because experiments are datas. Datas do not lie. Today there is a huge dispute of data itself. Facts do not lie. Values lie, and if you see the theory, how this scientific theory is proven is that you have to give the data. People assume that theory, they just propose theory and they just leave it. No, they propose the theory and they give data in evidence to that theory, and the data in this case is 1.7 of bending of light. But the initial data which is Einstein predicted was 0.8. Imagine a scenario, if they had captured this initially, the whole world would have said Einstein was wrong. The theory is correct. The theory is light is bending, but the data that he is proposing, he is saying 0.8, which is wrong. But what happened because of that World War I and capture of Erwin was, he had to go back. He had to go back again, reinvent himself. He had to think about this theory again. He recalculated. He took many other variables which he lost in the initial times, and he recalculated and he came up with the figure of 1.7, and which was taken by Arthur Eddington as perfectly correct in that South American expedition. And by this, what I understood is that if something is not working out to you, people may say that there is a saying, in hindsight everything seems correct, which if you see, I too feel that in whatever case, in whatever thing that you do, if something does not work out, do not sit back or lay back and give it up or quit it. Rather, like Einstein, what he did, he also went through. People ask, how do geniuses are born? Geniuses are not born. They are actually made. Einstein could have laid back and he could have given this theory and he could have gone to doing something else. He stuck with this theory and he stuck with this whole thing. And the point is that it was proven. and that is what geniuses are made, and he changed the way this universe, we see this universe. And this is what I wanted to talk about. This incident is what I wanted to talk about, because March 14 is the birthday of Einstein as well. And if you see this preliminary examination, so I'll end with this thought. This preliminary examination, people might now, as I initially said, they might be advising so much right now. People would say, see, there are two things I have seen in people. When you succeed, they will come and say, no, I knew that time itself you will be very successful. Or when you fail, immediately what they will say, see, that day itself I told you, why you are doing like this. This is what these are the two things that they will say. But what I feel is that, like Einstein, what he did, something which he likes to do was his theory, was his physics, was to understand universe. Like that, what you love, you keep on doing. The world is going to come and say, yes, I knew that time itself this fellow is going to fail. Or if you clear, they are going to come and say, see, that time itself I knew that this is a very intelligent person. I say that don't hear to both these things. Both these things are not going to help you in anything. Rather, keep working as Einstein did, in the things that you love, in the things that you want to make a difference. And that is what I feel will be a tribute to a person like Einstein on his birthday. So thank you for watching. All the best.